The Navigating the Resource Library bonus webinar will focus on all the tools and resources that we have available in CBRNResponder to assist and guide users through all aspects of the system. This includes, but is not limited to, job aids, user guides, drills, and exercise information, videos, tools, federal guidance documents, and much more. We'll begin by going over what the CBRNResponder Resource Library is. So the Resource Library provides users with the tools and materials for how to best utilize and leverage all of CBRNResponder's capabilities. Like I mentioned earlier, it includes job aids, user manuals, how-to videos, drill information, special feature webinar slide decks, ROS and cost materials, guided tours, and more. The resources are sorted by hazard type, rad, chem, or both, and the biohazard type will be available soon once BioResponder is released. Some resources are public-facing, meaning that you do not have to have a CBRNResponder account to view them. However, most are only available post-authentication. If you would like to access the resource library before logging into your account, at the top ribbon of any of the CBRNResponder pages, so ChemResponder, RadResponder, and CBRNResponder, you will click the Resources tab, and you'll be brought to the public-facing resource library. You'll see a note at the top saying that you are currently only viewing public resources, and to see all resources, you need to log in. Like I mentioned, just a handful of resources are public-facing, such as the webinar information and public information resources, but for the whole catalog of resources, you need to use your CBRNResponder account. If you are already logged in, you can access the resource library from the top ribbon. So you'll click Resources and Resource Library. If you are a part of a ChemResponder-enabled organization, you'll also see Chemicals under Resources, but we're just focusing on the resource library here. You can see for the ChemResponder page, you have Resource Library and Chemicals, and if you are just a RAD organization, you will just click Resources. Once you click into the resource library, you are brought to the full catalog. All resources associated with your organization's hazard types will be available post-authentication. If you didn't want to use the top ribbon and you were in either the ChemResponder or RadResponder specific home pages, you could view all resources from one of the tiles on the home pages. So if you do not have any favorited resources, you can just click All Resources. And if you do have favorited resources, you can click your favorite resources or click All Resources to be brought to the full resource library. There are 6 different types of resources in the resource library, and we'll start by going over a brief explanation of each of them. The library, this is your sort of RadResponder, ChemResponder, CBRNResponder resource library homepage. So there are some highlighted resources on here. Tools, these are interactive applications either hosted in CBRNResponder or hosted externally from other entities to assist in chemical and radiological response. Documents, this section includes user guides, informational fact sheets, ROS and cost materials, special feature webinars, nationwide drill information, etc. The videos section includes feature-based videos, various presentations, and other videos to benefit the CBRNResponder community. The training section has links to external training opportunities such as CTOS and CDP. And lastly, the guided tour section has website tours for new users, how to search for an event, the event map, and other features. We'll start by going down the navigation menu in the resource library. So we'll start with the library homepage. You'll see highlighted resources, which I've outlined in green here. For quick access, varies by hazard type. There's also a search option for the entirety of the resource library at the top. The search capability is a full text search, meaning that you can not only search for the titles of resources, but you can also search within the text of the resources. The various search will highlight the word that you're searching for, In orange, the title search is appearing, and in green, the content or in-document text search is appearing. You can always click the question mark icon for an explanation on how to use the search functionality. So for example, if you enter the word even with an asterisk into the search bar, CBRNResponder will then yield all resources that have the prefix of even. So it will include resources that have the word even, eventually, event, events, etc. You can also utilize the advanced search if you are wanting to view all resources with a certain tag, keyword, or type. All resources have a reference number, and so this allows you to search for a very specific item or document. The reference number allows you to ensure other personnel are reviewing and downloading the correct resource, and this is also searchable. So the reference number for the chemical reading threshold sets document is 733. If I search 733, that document will appear. The first set of resources we'll talk about today are tools. Tools, just like any other resource, is varied by hazard type. The following tools are available for RadResponder enabled organizations. So we have the ROS Toolkit, the RadDecon tool, Public Information Resources or the PIO library, and ICS forms, fillable PDFs. The first resource that you'll see is the ROS Toolkit. Now this is primarily for radiological operations support specialists, but it can be accessed by any RadResponder user. Once you enter the ROS Toolkit, you'll see an interactive application of various resource categories that include ROS job aids, A-team, perimeters and zones, population monitoring, recovery resources, worker safety, fact sheets, and shelter and evacuation materials. You'll just click on the resource you're interested in and it will appear within the ROS Toolkit. The RadNuke tool. This can serve as a decision aid in preparing for and responding to large-scale radiation incidents. And you'll go through a workflow and answer various questions about the incident for response recommendations. Public Information Resources, or the PIO library, is publicly available, and this is to be used for public communications during a radiological or nuclear incident. Since these resources are publicly available, you'll be able to access this before you log in, and you can utilize various infographics, pre-scripted messages, videos, and more to aid in communication to the public on a radiological response. If you want to go back to the generic CBRNResponder resource library, you do have to close out of the PIO resource library. You'll see this blue message at the top, and you will just click the here to go back to your main resource library. And last, for the RadResponder tools, the ICS forms fillable PDFs will direct you to FEMA's website where you can download the fillable PDF ICS forms. Switching gears to the chem hazard, the following tools are available for users that are a member of ChemResponder enabled organizations. You'll see that there are around 90 ChemResponder tools, and that's because most of these are associated with COST Toolkit. From the ChemResponder Resource Library homepage, you will see links to the two highlighted ChemResponder tools, the Hazmat Incident Database and COST Toolkit. The Hazmat Incident Database allows you to search for SITREPs, lessons learned, and events in ChemResponder for greater situational awareness on incidents that match your criteria. And the COST Toolkit provides resources for chemical operations support specialists. However, it is available to all ChemResponder users. Next, we'll discuss the documents portion of the resource library. The documents library is where you're going to find CBRNResponder user guides, job aids, drill information, fact sheets, RadResponder ready information, train the trainer information, special feature webinar slide decks, and much more. And as always, the resources will vary depending on your organization's enabled hazard types. The documents are organized in a folder hierarchy, and from the folder, you will be able to see how many files are contained in that folder. You can click into the folder to be brought to additional subfolders and documents. And you can always see which folder you are in by looking at the name next to documents, which is highlighted in gold. And if you want to go back to the level above your current folder, you will just click the back to either user manuals and job aids or back to lab analysis, depending on where you're at. So on my left-hand side screenshot, I am in the lab analysis folder. If I click into the workflows and life cycles folder, I will now see at the top that I am in workflows and life cycles. We will go through some of the most useful folders in CBRNResponder, but there are dozens that we encourage you to look through and see which ones could be of most benefit to you. We'll talk about the drills and exercises folder, the fact sheets, presentations, and site policies folder, the RadNuke planning and operational resources folder, RadResponder Ready, special feature webinars, train the trainer program and training materials, and lastly, user manuals and job aids. The drills and exercises folder will include all materials for RadResponder and ChemResponder nationwide drills, and that includes some of the pre-drill information, drill guidance, after action reports, etc. So everything associated with that drill will be contained in its own folder. We also have a historical record of all past drills, so you can access them and execute them on your own time. The fact sheets, presentations, and site policies folder includes one-pagers for the RadResponder and ChemResponder programs, information on site security, a copy of the CBRNResponder end user agreement, etc. The RadNuke planning and operational resources folder provides RadResponder users with policy and guidance on topics including RDDs, INDs, REP, PRND for CM, and more. Now, within the RadNuke planning and operational resources folder, there are additional subfolders that I'd like to highlight, and it helps organize the various topics. So we do have a folder for the Office of Radiological Security resources, and this includes some PDFs. We have a folder for PRND for CM, which includes additional documentation. And the RDD planning and guidance folder, which includes the first 100 minutes guidance and the RadResponder annex to the first 100 minutes guidance. The RadResponder Ready folder and soon the ChemResponder Ready folder will contain the application and community examples for developing ConOps and SOPs in order to become RadResponder Ready. The special feature webinars folder is where you're going to be able to find all the slide decks for all of our past webinars. And you can also find the registration links to all upcoming webinars and all past webinar topics in this folder as well. The Train the Trainer program and training materials folder is going to include Train the Trainer information as well as past training materials. So the Train the Trainer folder is going to only be for RadResponder until the ChemResponder Train the Trainer program is available. This is where you'll find the application and prerequisites to be considered for training. It also includes all training materials separated by module for the trainer to utilize. The training materials folders will include materials from previous trainings and conferences for users to reference. In the Train the Trainer folder, you'll see that we have our module-specific materials, the prerequisites, and a list of certified trainers. The user manuals and job aids folder is going to contain probably the most useful information in terms of how to use CBRNResponder. And in this folder, we have several subfolders and it's separated by theme. So we have a folder on data management, event management, lab analysis, mobile apps, and organization management. In each themed subfolder, users can download a step-by-step document on what the feature does and how to utilize it. So if I open the event management folder, I can select between a variety of job aids. If I'm choosing the creating and managing events document, I will click it and download the step-by-step user guide. The video resource includes videos from all of our special feature and bonus webinars, pre-nationwide drill webinars, a variety of presentations, and some federal guidance videos. The video can be watched in the CBRNResponder website through the resource library, or you can navigate to an external link such as YouTube. So on the left-hand side here, you can see how you can watch the video within CBRNResponder, or you can click the YouTube link and watch it on YouTube. You can also view all of our videos directly from YouTube at youtube.com/CBRNResponder if you prefer to watch videos that way. The next section we'll talk about is the training section. This section provides you with external training for more resources on radiological, chemical, and future biological related topics. If you click into training, you'll see all of the available training opportunities. If you click on one of these trainings, note that you will be brought away from CBRNResponder, and also note that these trainings were not created by CBRNResponder. Last but not least is the guided tours section. This is a great way for step-by-step walkthroughs of particular aspects of the CBRNResponder website, especially if you are new to the CBRNResponder program. You'll see that there are tours for new users, event searching, the event dashboard, the event map, and the organization dashboard. To start a tour, you'll click the Start the Tour button in blue, and you'll be brought to the tour. Each tour will be different in content, but the function and the way you navigate through the tour is the same. And so a modal will appear next to the button/section it is referencing. So here you can see that it's pointing to the reset layout, and then you have a brief explanation on what the reset layout button does. To navigate through the tour, you'll click the previous button to go back and next to move forward. And at any point, you can click End Tour to exit the tour. Now that we've talked about all the different types of resources, you can actually now favorite resources to make them quickly accessible. The best way to save resources that you reference frequently is to favorite them. Your favorite resources will then appear on the post-authenticated hazard-specific home pages, which you can see outlined in red, and on the side navigation of the resource library for quick access, which is highlighted in green. You can favorite any resource or folders of resources. Each resource has a star next to it. If you click inside the star, it will turn yellow. And once that resource has a filled in yellow star, it has been favorited. You'll click the inside of the star for it to turn yellow. You'll then choose how you want to name your resource and then click Save. And now your resource is favorited. Since I favorited the alert feature and alerting definitions document, now if I go to my home page, I can see that it is at the top of my favorites, as well as the top of my favorites on the side navigation on the resource library. If I no longer want to have a resource favorited, I can just click the star icon again and it will be removed. So once I click that star, you can see in the right-hand side that that alerting feature job aid no longer appears in my favorites list. So that concludes the different types of resources that we have available for you in the CBRNResponder resource library. It's very robust, and for pretty much every feature in the CBRNResponder site, we have a video on it, we have a job aid and step-by-step instructions on how to use it.